Tired of manually copying leads from Apollo or wrestling with messy spreadsheets? I'll show you how to auto capture leads from Apollo, enrich them with verified emails using Hunter.io, and storing them within Airtable. Fully automated, no duplicates, and ready to scale. Here's the exact flow we'll build today. Here's what you'll need for this automation: an Apollo.io account, a Hunter.io account, make.com, and an Airtable base. I'll show you my Airtable base in a second, and you can grab a free template in the description to make this even easier. So this is my Airtable base. As you can see, I have name, email, title of the person, company, Apollo ID, which is the unique identifier per listing, the source. So I have two, Apollo or Hunter, so I can tell who updated last. And then I have email and responded. I'll be using these two later on in a later video when I fully automate. First, we need API keys so make.com can connect to Apollo and Hunter.io. Let's start with Apollo.io. We're going to log in, go to admin settings, integrations, and scroll all the way down to API. We're going to click connect, and we're going to click on API keys to the left. And the next thing we're going to do is create new key. So basically right now we're creating the API keys, or better known as defining the scope. Yes, I could select all these API keys, but more importantly, we're defining the permissions we're allowing it to have. The reason for this is you want, for best practices and for security purposes, to only use the APIs you really need. So let's hop into it. Okay, we're going to do the name. I'm just going to call it Apollo plus Airtable. Description, just lead gen. And then we're only going to get the search. And that should be more than enough. So we're getting contact search, account search, mixed company search, and mixed people. And we're going to create the API key. So now we're going to copy this API key in a little bit and then put it into make.com. Next, we'll go to Hunter.io. Log in. And we're going to be going to API. And for this one, we need to find the email finder. So this one, and you're going to copy this into a notepad, or you can just keep it on this page because we're going to need it in make.com in a second. Now we have everything we need to start building in make.com. So we're going to create a new scenario, and we're going to first do HTTP. I'll be going a little fast for this portion, but just pause as needed. So right now we have the HTTP request. We're going to copy and paste these URLs. Our method is going to be post. And then we're going to need two headers. So one for your API, and we're going to paste in our API from our Apollo developer portal, and then tell it what file format we want. So content type is application/JSON. And for body type, it's raw. JSON. The request content is our filter. So for my filter, I want all of the decision makers. So CEOs, COOs, head of commerce. I'm targeting the retail industry and everyone that's using a Shopify. The next thing we're going to do is click on parse response and save. One thing I do want to mention is down here, we tell the API what page we want it to pull from and how many options per page. Next, we're going to put an iterator so it can handle multiple requests at the same time. Data, people, save. At this point, we're going to have two separate paths. One is for it to initially print into Airtable, and the second one is validating it with enriched values. We're going to apply a router. And in the first step, we're going to do an Airtable search. So we're going to go into Airtable, and we're looking for search for record. Add a connection. Call this Apollo lead in one. It's going to pop up, add our base. And then we now have our base into Airtable. Define the table. Well, the next is we're going to do grid view. Our output's going to be Apollo ID. And then we need to put in the formula. Apollo ID is equal to ID. And we're going to set the limit to 1 and save. The next we're going to do is create a record. We're just going to map from the iterator name, email, title, company, D, and then we'll leave that blank and save. Okay, so now let's add the filters for the first flow. So what we want to do is, we'll call it qualify. And sometimes you'll get weird characters within Apollo and it won't be able to be read by like Airtable or pass through the flow. So one thing I do want to make sure is that we know that name exists. And the second one is name again. I've seen a lot of these characters come out. We want to make sure that it does not contain any question mark. Okay, that's the first one. And the second one is for duplicates. And we want total number of bundles to equal 0. And save. Now we're going to set up the Hunter IO. So we're going to get the Hunter IO URL from the API keys that we still have open. Email Finder. And Hunter IO is basically telling you what they need from you. And they give you an example. So there's reddit.com. This will be replaced with organization, website URL. The name, this is first name, will be replaced with first name here, last name, and then your API key should already be there. And make sure you do parse response and save. Okay, so this iterator we're going to make, and we're going to reference this make request, data and email. And we are going to then search for that Apollo ID key and then also update that record. Now we're going to do search records for an Airtable. We use the same one, the same base, table 1. And the output's going to be Apollo ID. The view is going to be grid, limit 1. And the same formula like last time. Apollo ID is equal to ID. Save. Okay, and then we're just going to add the updates. We're going to do another Airtable, do update record. And this is going to be how we update our enrichment. we're going to do the same base, same table. It will be ID in the search. And we are going to update the email in the Airtable. And the source here is going to be hunter.io. And save. Now let's see if it runs. So currently I'm going to just make this empty real quick. Oh, we got an error. So let's see. Oh, now it should run. Okay, and then for the very last part, we're going to start adding the filter for the bottom part. So we just need one. We're going to call this a qualifier. We want last name does not contain periods, and last name doesn't have any exclamation marks and or question marks and exclamation marks. I just do this because sometimes in Apollo you get some of this junk, and we don't want any of that to come through because it will stop the process. So as you test, you might see other weird characters, and you might have to just go into the filters and filter them out. Let's run the test. Okay, so it brought in 2 entries, these 2. And as you can see, they got updated by Hunter. So that's why they have the email. Now let's increase by, let's just say 6. Run again. And it's going to run through the process. But as you can see, we had some duplicates. So only 4 came through. And we have, as you can see now, we have 6. And 1 was not able to be enriched by Hunter.io. So it stopped and kept on going. And as you can see, the source here is Apollo because of that. But we still have all of these leads right here that we can cold email. And as we set up more automations, we can have this Airtable auto email and updates the life cycle of each email. Love this automation? Like, subscribe, and comment more automations to see my next videos on automated outreach and scaling your lead flow. Grab a free Airtable template below. Want to automate your business? Book a free 15-minute strategy call with me. The link's in the description. Let's just start automating.